From the raw aggression of Pretty Hate Machine to the haunting textures of the downward spiral. In this video, we'll explore some of the synths behind their biggest songs and how they shaped the Nine Inch Nails sound. The Kurzweil K2000 is a digital synth and workstation that Kurzweil Music Systems made between 91 and 2000. It originally came in 4 versions: the K2000, the K2000S, the K2000R, and the K2000RS. The K2000 run on vast, variable architecture synthesis technology, letting you take any sample, noise, or waveform and shape it using pretty much any synthesis technique. It's like having a deep sound design toolkit inside the synth. And that's what caught Trent Reznor's attention. I really kind of fell out of touch with what was happening until someone suggested I check out the Kurzweil K2000, which I did and bought. I think that's the only keyboard I've bought recently that's new. And I think it's potentially awesome. I don't know all I should know about it, but we use that a lot because of the fact that it can read Akai banks. The K2000 series was used a lot on the downward spiral. In fact, the guitar from Hurt is the acoustic guitar patch on the orchestral ROM. The drum of the song The Becoming were also programmed on a K2000 series. On the song The Becoming, all the drums were done on the Kurzweil like that. You could never do that in the Akai. I was also surprised by the amount of shit that's in there. In the day of the preset piano sounds, it's incredible that someone put that much thought into an instrument. According to Sean Bevan, they also used it on vocals. Our effects were created mostly from the ground up on the Kurzweil K2000, which we even used to distort vocals. The K2000 was also used by other industrial bands such as Skinny Puppy and Frontline Assembly. Alright, let's hear some of the presets. The Emax was a line of sampler made by Emu Systems from 86 to 95. It first came out in 86 as a cheap alternative to the Emulator 2. There were a few versions, like the Emax Rack, the Emax HD, which had a built-in 20 megabytes hard drive, the Emax HD Rack, and the Emax SE Synthesis Enhanced. It's a powerful sampler, but it's got that lo-fi gritty sound, which is exactly why people love it. The Emax was replaced in 89 by the Emax 2 and the Emax 2 Turbo. I love the names. This thing has so much history. I could honestly make a whole video just on the Emax. Let me know if you'd be into that. The Emax was Trent Reznor's first proper sampler. My first real sampler was an Emax. I started working at a keyboard store in Cleveland, mainly just to get discounts on this shit. I got an Emax and that was Pretty Hate Machine. It was pretty much all Emax and just figuring out how every way to milk every bit of interesting stuff out of the limitations you had. And by the way, in the age of too many plugins, I'm telling you guys, limitations is your friend. Actually, all of the drums on the album is taken from someone else's record. But every drum sound on Pretty Hate Machine is off of somebody else's record. I just got in the Emax, but I hated the factory sounds. And I didn't have anything transferred over from the emulator. He also used it for a very particular dissonant sound at the end of one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs, terrible lie. That sound started as a woodblock, but Reznor ran it through a distortion pedal, sampled it, and pitched it down on the Emax for that extra grit. It ended up being one of his favorite sounds on the record. The Arp Odyssey is a classic analog synth that came out in '72. Built by Arp Instruments to compete with the Minimoog, Arp made a few different versions over the years. The Mark I 72 to 75, the Mark II 75 to 78, and the Mark III released in '78. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Mark I. Let me know which one is your favorite. In 2015, Korg brought it back. Then released limited editions in the Mark I and Mark II color schemes, while Mark III became the standard model. Trent Reznor used the Odyssey on the Social Network soundtrack. Amazing soundtrack, by the way, and great movie. In 2010, the multi-track stems were released for a remix competition, and the track names hint at some of the synths used. Of course, the Arp Odyssey was one of them. The Odyssey was also used on several Nine Inch Nails tracks, but the most famous of them all would be the Grammy-nominated song The Hand That Feeds. Reznor used the Odyssey on the keyboard solo section. You can also spot the Odyssey in the official video clip, and just for you, here's a patch sheet if you want to remake the sound. You can use any plugin emulation you want. The Oberheim OBMx came out in '94. And was a pretty bold move for the time. While the market was flooded with samplers, Oberheim decided to go against the trend and drop a full-on analog synth instead. It was designed to capture those classic Oberheim and Minimoog sounds, but getting it to market was a bit of a mess. The original team was replaced by legendary synth designer Don Buchla? I don't know how to pronounce it, who basically had to start over from scratch. The OBMx was packaged as a rack mount synth. No keyboard version was produced. The way Trent Reznor got his hands on the OBMx is actually a funny story. His repair guy, Richard Bugg, was actually involved in designing it. Trent asked him about it, and Richard just casually said, "Yeah, I've got one at my place. Want to borrow it?" Of course, Trent said yes. When he got it, he was blown away. He liked to use it because he was basically bored of the Minimoog. The Obermoog shows up in a couple of places, mainly because I was getting bored of using the Minimoog, which I've used for almost every bass sound I've ever done. According to this Instagram post by Alessandro Cortini, Trent used it to design the bass on The Becoming. You can also spot the OBMx in this picture from Le Pig Studio, where he recorded the Downward Spiral and part of Broken. I actually have the original OBMx bass track from The Becoming. Let's hear it. In the 80s, German synth maker PPG made waves with its Wave 2 series, but started fading out. By the late 80s, its team merged with Waldorf, leading to the release of the Microwave in '89. The Microwave was based on the PPG Wave, a digital analog hybrid. In fact, the Microwave used the same wavetables as the PPG Wave 2.3. Unfortunately, the control panel was very limited, making it very hard to design sounds. Then in '98, Waldorf released the big orange polyphonic rack mount synthesizer, the Microwave XT. Its true power and features lies in the 44 knobs, which make editing much easier. and a year later they released the keyboard version. Trent pretty much owned all the microwave synths. Around 2009, some of Trent's gear that was at Nothing Studios were auctioned online, including this Microwave XT and an Access programmer signed by Trent Reznor. In '94, he told Keyboard Magazine, "I had a PPG when they were out, and I have a Waldorf Microwave now. If I go about trying to program that thing in a logical way, it comes out sounding like a mid-80s synth pop, kind of dated, digital sounding. But just through randomly generating stuff with Opcode's Galaxy, I generate thousands and thousands of programs." The microwave synths were heavily used during the recording of The Fragile. Waldorf even make a custom microwave for Nine Inch Nails, as you can see in this picture of Charlie Clouser with Nine Inch Nails at the '99 MTV VMAs. This synth looks so good. According to Charlie Clouser, during the recording of The Fragile, he primarily relied on 3 synths: the Nord, the Virus, and the Microwave. The Access Virus and Waldorf Microwave also played a prominent roles on the record. "In my studio," says Charlie, "I basically rely on 3 synths: the Nord, the Virus, and the Microwave." Honorable mention to the Prophet VS, Minimoog, and Expander that I already covered in other videos. If you're a music producer, don't forget to check out my website for samples and presets. Also my Patreon for templates and private chat, MIDI files, all of that. Thanks for watching. Stay industrial. Ciao.